and welcome to this exercise on the revision of arithmetic series, and it's based on an iGCSE question here. And it says an arithmetic series has first term A and common difference D. The nth term of the series is t sub n, and the sum of the first n terms of the series is n sub n. And then it says write down. I think the operative phrase here is are the words write down. Okay, and it says write down an expression in terms of A and D for t sub 58 and s sub 13. So we're looking for the 58th term, and that's going to be A plus 58 minus 1D. Now you should be able to subtract 1 from 58 to give us 57D. So your answer really should be A plus 57D, and for that you get 1 mark. For all that you get 1 mark. Now for s sub 13, the sum of the first 13 terms, that's a bit more difficult, I think. Now s sub 13 is 13 over 2 into 2a plus 13 minus 1d. Now 13 minus 1 is 12, and that's 2. So 2 and 12 are multiples of 2. So we can divide our 2 and the 12 by 2 there. So we end up with 13 into a plus 6d. Now, because this carries only 1 mark, you should be able to leave your answer at this one here, because there's a bit more. This is a bit more involved than the first one for t sub 58. Okay, so that's okay there. Okay, right. Moving on, and B says given that t sub 58 is equal to s sub 13, so those two are equal. Show that d is equal to minus 47. Sorry, minus 4 over 7a. Okay, and for part C, it says show that t sub 176 is equal to s sub 21. So you want that the 126th term is equal to the sum of the first 21 terms. And D, finally for D, it says find the value of r when t sub r is equal to 5t sub 9. Okay, next slide. Okay, and for the second slide, it says given that t sub 58 is equal to s sub 13, yeah, and part B says show that d is equal to minus 4a over 7. Okay, right. Now what you do here is we already know from part A that t sub 58 is equal to a plus 58 minus 1d, which is simplified to a plus 57d. We also know that s sub 13 from part A is 13 over 2 into 2a plus 13 minus 1d, which we simplified to 13a plus 6d. When you multiply these two, or expand the bracket, we end up with 13a plus 78d. Okay. And now we equate these two. Equate those two. And we have 13a plus 78d is equal to a plus 57d. If we now subtract 57d from both sides and 13a from both sides, we end up with 21d is equal to minus 12a. If we then divide both sides by d, we end up with d is equal to minus 12a over 21. If you then divide the numerator and the denominator by 3, we end up with d is equal to minus 4a over 7 as required. Now, part C says, show that t sub 176 is equal to s sub 21. So the 176 term is equal to the sum of the first 21 terms. Now, t sub 176 is a plus 176 minus 1. And when you simplify, that now becomes a plus 175d. Now, for s sub 21, we have this here. 21 over 2 into 2a plus 21 minus 1d. Now, 21 minus 1 is 20. I've got 2 there. 2 and 20 are multiples of 2. So we can comfortably divide 2 by 2. And also 20 by 2. And we end up with 21 into a plus 10d. We now equate these two, and we end up with a plus 175d is equal to 21 into a plus 10d. Now, at some stage, I'm going to expand this bracket here to give me 21a plus 210d. Now, meanwhile, do not forget that d is equal to minus 4a over 7. So we need to substitute this value of d into there and there. So we now have a plus 175 multiplied by minus 4a over 7, and that's equal to 21a plus 210 multiplied by minus 4a over 7. So now if we divide 175 by 7, you get 25. And if you divide 210 by 7, you get 30. So now we have a plus 25 times minus 4a is equal to 21a plus 30 times minus 4a. The left hand side is a plus 100a, a minus 100a, and the right hand side is 21a minus 20a. And you end up with minus 99a on both sides. And so the left hand side equal to the right hand side as required. Or if you wish, you can multiply both sides by minus 1 to give you 99a is equal to 99a. You do that. You don't have to do that. For part D, it says find the value of r when dr is equal to 5t sub 9. And as before, t sub r is equal to a plus r minus 1d. And 5t sub 9 is equal to 5 into a plus 9 minus 1d. Now 9 minus 1 is 8. So when you expand this bracket here, okay, you end up with 5a plus 40d for 5t9. And then we equate these two. Yeah. So we end up with a plus r minus 1d is equal to 5a plus 40d. If we then open the bracket on the left hand side, we have that a plus rd minus d is equal to 5a plus 40d. If we then subtract 40D from both sides and A from both sides, we end up with RD minus D minus 40D is equal to 5A minus A there. If we then collect like terms on the left hand side, we have RD minus 41D is equal to 4A. If we then factorize the left hand side, we have D into R minus 41 is equal to 4A. If we then divide both sides by D, we have that R minus 41 is equal to 4A over D. Now if we then add 41 to both sides, we end up with I is equal to 4A over D plus 41. Now meanwhile, do not forget that D is minus 4A over 7. So now R is equal to 4A divided by minus 4A over 7. And when you change this sign here and invert, you end up with 48 times minus 7 over 4A. Now the 4A's cancel out. So for that, in there you have just minus 7. So R is equal to minus 7 plus 41, which gives R as equal to 34. Now I hope all that made some sense, and please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and bye bye.